today's episode is how to drink water from a tap. Okay. Oh my god, I had a bottle right here. Hello everyone. Okay. The title of today's episode is we are all great souls. And so what Mr. Within would like to talk about is actually the conscious integration of all personalities into one present moment. And when this occurs, many people experience spontaneous states of laughter. They, intense states of laughter. There's been times I've laughed and cried at the same time. But when I say cry, it's not like tears of sadness. It's tears of thoughtlessness. It's like for the first time, you as a being in one moment of your life realizing that you're not an individual being, but rather you're mutually dependent on everything that is external to you. So your internality is based on your externality is based on your internality. So the moment is really the present intelligence. We all think intelligence is based on our intellect, it's based on our education. No, intelligence is based on how the activity of that phenomena is happening and how self-aware it is. For in my view, our greatest minds are not people who have more than 5 PhDs, but the greatest minds are actually people who know who they are, know what they are, and know where they are. These, for the intellect, will be infinite questions and answers. So, if you want to intellectually figure out this world, the nature of this reality, it's as the Sufi mystic said, it's like, whipping a dead donkey and expecting it to run. It's like you're not seeing life there, so you're not allowing greater intelligence to be a realization because you're so convinced that yourself is segmented in space and time. And of course, time is a beautiful illusion. That this sentence I'm definitely, I like the title, Time is a Beautiful Illusion. I might do a talk on this. But the whole notion is that if I tell you right now to touch your hand, and let's say you touch your other hand with your other hand, and now I tell you touch like some object in front of you. Now if I ask you, how do you know that was your hand, and how do you know it's this, you're going to probably say, in regards to the touch feeling, in regards to the experience of the stimulus, and so you're going to see that the difference is in the value we have put in what we see. So many children might not understand what I'm saying right now, but I find that if you go into suffering earlier in your life, you will be enlightened sooner. And when I say enlightened, it's not like you're going to, suddenly out of nowhere, some mystic's going to come and, put his thumb on your forehead and you're going to feel the whole cosmos. It's not like that. It's you have to confront your whole memory and everything that is you in the moment. When you can do this, you no longer need an external teacher. That's the beautiful thing, because all external teachers are here. The task of the guru outside of you is to show you the guru within, or for your whole life you're going to be chasing some guy who you don't know, So what that means is that Mr. Within wants people to become smart as consciousness. Not smart as an object that's, at some point it's going to end and the candle's going to melt and we're all going to think the light in the room had no purpose. It's the light in the room has a lot of purpose. Just think about it. We're on this rock, yeah, and we're like 8 billion and growing, and we're not that close to the sun to burn. We're not that far from the sun to freeze, and we're just in our place where existence happens. Our existence is humanity. So this will all lead to a self-realization that your real eyes have always been the self. You know, I was very fascinated because earlier in my life, I felt like I had to find the strength to fight the world that was for no reason fighting me. You know, as a child, I was very preferenceless, but when you get engaged and involved in activities, you know, many other values and minds integrate, and to some degree, you know, opposition comes. So in my life, you know, just as a guy, just as a person in this world, guys, I've had so many like embarrassing but synchronistically funny moments where my ego, like I tried to be egotistical, and then just the way life was, I couldn't, and it would end up being hilariously, you know, like, you know, ridiculous, you know. The most important concept to be aware of is the concept of your preference. Whatever you prefer, your attention goes on. Now, whatever you innately, naturally prefer, that's like the attention you're here to work in. You know, so many people think you have to pay attention, but this is what Mr. Within is saying for the first time, because I have developed the concept of advanced communicators, and what that means is the human communicates in such an advanced way that it suddenly realizes it is the advanced communication of the whole cosmos. You know, so think about, you know, Mr. Within, while giving these talks, suddenly in the midst of it, you know, many times this has happened, you know, where I suddenly realized that it's not that I am paying attention, it is that I am within an attention of an existential capacity where there's an individuality. And so my personal experience, I remember there came a time in my life, you know, years ago, you know, before all this happened and this whole Mr. Within thing happened, you know, I just like, I had a lot of problems in my life, yeah, externally, you know, and I was becoming very like, I had like this door-to-door kind of like you know, charity job, but it had like sales principles on it, and it was like I did this for 3 months in summer, and while I was doing that, I felt like I don't know why, but somehow the people who were there to train me were like as good as the people in the boiler room, you know. So I found myself suddenly in this like group, in this like organization where we're going to different charities, and every day you meet like, you know, so many people, as many people you knock doors on, you know. And so after that, I remember when I was there, I wasn't that much good at getting what, you know, the donations and something, but afterwards I came. At this point I still have an ego, very huge ego, you know. I'm trying to fight, I'm trying to build my ego like an advanced machine that could conquer the world. Not conquer the world in regards to fighting it, but in regards to just taking me on a platform where I'm undisturbed by things, you know. So anyways, what happens is that the moment I leave this thing, this Red Cross kind of like donation job thing I had, something very fascinating, not fascinating, let me say it, like this is what happens. I pretty much developed that psychology, and I feel that I can get anything I want. But actually, the moment you feel you can get anything you want in this life, that's when life's like, what? You think you can get anything? It's like life shows you the opposite, you know. So I go into such a hectic state afterwards, and I remember I was drinking, smoking a lot then, you know. And so like at some point I decide to stop it. I'm like, I can't do this. My intelligence can't function with this much of egotism, and my environment was becoming so hectic and uncontrollable that I just cut off everybody I know, you know, except one friend, you know. And I just stay home and I just read books and I just go spend time in nature, and I would go spend time in nature alone, you know. And most people are like, oh man, what do you do alone in nature? It's like, what do you, like, you know, it's so boring, you know. Some people say like this, but I will tell you, it was not. it was actually enlightening. Because I remember I go and I sit down and I have like this, like, I don't know, random spontaneous, I went to like, you know, the chapter store, some kind of like bookstore, and I just go to this section and I see all the books are red, and on top of it I see Buddhism. I'm like, nice, you know. And so I go and, you know, I just pick a bunch of random books, and one of these books was a book, I don't know who wrote it exactly, but it was a good book, you know. It was by this woman who was Tibetan, who became a Tibetan Lama and whatnot. But anyways, the book was called Tibetan Book of Meditation. So I opened this and I'm reading like, yeah, I think it was the Tibetan Book of, yeah, it was. So I'm reading, guys, so I'm just, imagine sitting by a stream, you know, very graceful. It's like, you know, not afternoon, it's not getting dark, but, you know, it's like noon, let's say, and I'm just sitting there. You know, I'm sitting there, a stream's going in front of me, the sound of the stream is like its own soundtrack for me. So I'm just standing there, I'm just sitting there, I have this book in my hand, and I open like the first 2 pages, like before even getting to the first chapter, I suddenly realized, just like how I have held this book in my hand, my whole moment of consciousness is holding everything within it. So I became, for the first time in myself, in my whole moment, and it was interesting because back then I had heard the idea of being out of body, and I had, one experience where one morning I was just like on the corner of my room, and just, I saw what happened in my room and stuff, But it was like I'll tell you this, and then I woke up, and then it was a confirmation of exactly what happened. But I'm telling you, this was not an out-of-body experience for my body. It was an out of the body of ideas of individual consideration and into my moment's body. It was as if, like, right now I'm speaking to you guys, most people are like, man, I'm just this biological thing, there isn't more. But this is what Mr. Within is saying. Right now, as you're hearing me talk, right now, forget enlightenment, forget everything. Just for a moment, right now when I'm speaking to you, are you a moment of being, or are you just what's in your moment of being? Do you see that there's like this spherical, infinite awareness at the moment we open our eyes outside of our house? We see so much. We see the infinitude of the allowance of existential vision. What I'm saying is that your moment is an eternal intention for a temporal phenomenon. When you realize this, you will recognize just as how easy it is for you to move from clothes, you're going to realize similarly, just like how you can change your clothes, you can change your states of mind, and you can even change your physical body, but that usually occurs at, the time of death. If you're conscious, of course, you're going to recognize that eternity cannot die. And religions, to some degree, they had the great task, even though they've had so much ridicule throughout the years, to keep this unknown possibility. Do you see? You got to see, like, I remember my grandmother was telling me a story of her, grandfather, Yeah, I don't know if it was her father or grandfather, but anyways, like, I think her father. It was the story of her father, and her father, at some time, like, back in the day, in some kind of, I don't know, I think at that point they might have, I don't know where it was, I don't know if this was in Turkey or in Baku, but anyways, what happens is, let's say my grandmother's father, is choosing to go from one village to another village, and back in the day it was nothing, it was on horseback, and he was like this kid in his teens, and he alone on horseback was going on a few days ride. Like, think about this, on a few days going in woods and villages just with one horse and just a snack pack, and you're just going to the other thing, and he had a letter from his father, that was saying, okay, when you get to the destination, just show the people you're going there to meet this letter, and they will take care of you. So that's how it was. So anyways, the story goes on, he's going, and at some point he finds himself in some kind of forest, and he's just there, and he suddenly sees, like, this wolf looking at him, like a legit wolf. Imagine I don't know, maybe you're going on horseback for a second, you get off the horse to take a leak or something, you're just there doing something, and then suddenly he just sees a wolf, like a legit wolf, just like looking at him, and the wolf is just there, and so, guys, it's very fascinating, because my grandma says that her father was at that state, like, in that moment, was so shocked, right, and scared, that all he knew that he could do was to shout God's name. So he just shouts, Allah, like, he just shouts a very loud, just his ultimate prayer of what life is, and just calling to God, and he just shouts God's name very loud at this wolf. And this wolf, like, he shouts as loud as he can. You see, like, he just shouts as loud as he can. And this is the story where I was so overwhelmed. My grandma was saying, where the wolf, it just sits and it doesn't move. It freezes the wolf freezes in that moment. And just like, her father, my grandmother's father was just there, like just this, kid just looking at this wolf not moving for like a few minutes, and he just slowly gets on his horse and gets out of there, and the wolf doesn't move from that place, and he goes and gets to his destination, and whatnot, But it was such a fascinating story because it showed me that, back in the day, God was people's hope. It was people's meaning. Science hadn't been developed that far. Science is recent. Back then religion was taking care of all the, to some degree, psychological needs of people, but at the same time it was giving them an ability to see a greater cosmic significance in their lives. And so many people ridicule religion. I find it's hilarious. I find many speakers in these debates you see on YouTube come and bash the concept of God, but I find they're bashing their own ideas, because how do they know how significant the concept of God was back in the day when it came, or maybe just a few years ago for some person, we are all creating the hope to realize our Creator, but the moment we see that the Creator is not some creation to be found, it's the Creator. Do you see? It's the moment where all is happening. You're going to suddenly see that if you're a religious man, you're going to see that the God that is within you is the God that is within everywhere, and is the inspiration of all that is. And do you know what I mean? That means, I remember in Muslim countries, especially the Arab countries and Middle Eastern countries, they have this word, like when someone, let's say you're just some kid and you do some kind of parkour trick in front of a bunch of, older people or just, shop owners or something, those kids will, those owners, those gourmet will look at you and be like, oh, mashallah, look at this kid, look at what he's doing, look at what God's created, And so, this is the thing, that we have humanized ourselves out of our divinity, but the divinity doesn't go anywhere. It's just how the intelligence is here. You are the cosmos looking in the mirror. Shirin Sargadad Maharaj has this very nice quote, and it is this, many of these wisdom quotes that I share, the reason they're like companions for me, they're like principles of revelation and realization. And so Shirin Sargadad Maharaj, this very realized being, has this quote where he says, when I see that I am nothing, that means when I see, okay, let me say the quote first and then I'll, when I see that I am nothing, that is wisdom. When I see that I am everything, that is love. And between these two, my life moves. So what that means is this human being, just let's think about it for a second, let's consider it for a second. When you see that you are nothing, how is that wisdom? Because you truly see what you are. And when you see that you are love, that means you look at this world and you don't see enemies, and you don't even see friends, you see like the intelligence of the love of the whole cosmos happening, you're going to see that there's no individuality. It's like many people who love others, they love that person in a sense that they have accepted them in such a way that their mind has even created beauty. I remember in high school I was super shy. I was very quiet, and so there was this girl that in my, I hadn't even talked to her, but in my mind I had not only accepted every way she was, but I had also accepted the beauty I saw within her. Do you see? And so every time I would get close to her, I would suddenly get overwhelmed by the beauty that I saw in how I saw her, and I would get overwhelmed by my own mind, so I wouldn't talk to her. Life's hilarious, But this was the main implication, that our minds originate the beauty of our world, and then we fit that beauty in the stories that are real to us based on how we have been conditioned as a person. Most scientists and great let's say intellectual minds, they should not fight religion. They should to some degree find ways where they can incorporate many systems in a harmonious manner. If they cannot, then they have accepted failure. It's like this. let's say you have a nice, a good working car, you know, and you handle it. Yeah, you go, let's say, fix a part of it, and then you drive the car. Now imagine one part of your car is not working properly based on today's cultural, social standards, and so you are saying, yo, we gotta destroy the whole car. This car, you know, doesn't have, like, you know, one light. We should destroy the whole car. You know, it's not correct. We have to have the tolerance of 10,000 years in the future and live it like that now. That means we're absolutely tolerant to everything that's going to happen. You know. The moment is absolute when you are. Much blessings and namaste.